Mr. Ambassador, for the kind introduction. And I'm honored to speak to such a distinguished audience. I want to applaud the ANU for your outstanding work in the field of China studies, especially for Dr. Song for organizing this first-rate conference. Now, well, I'm from Brookings. I just want to say a few words. The Brookings China Center has been privileged to participate in this now well-known ABC partnership. A, ANU, B, Brookings, C, CAS. Now, my former colleague and good friend, Jeffrey Bader, was here last year and greatly benefited from the exchanges with you. He is now a key person in the Obama administration on Asia-Pacific affairs. Now, I'm sure that my Brookings colleagues here, Wing-Tai Wu and Xiao Gen, all share the same sentiment that we hope this wonderful partnership will expand in the years to come. Now, my assignment for this special session is to talk about the Chinese leadership, especially the upcoming generation of leaders and the future trajectory of the country. As all of us know, analyzing the Chinese leadership or predicting China's future is not an easy job. As the old story goes, ask 5 China experts about China's future, you will get 5 different answers, 6 if one of them went to Harvard. It's a compliment, you'll never be wrong. I apologize for those in the room. Now, of course, I will not give you 6 different ways of assessing the Chinese leadership. Instead, I would like to more explicitly discuss what I call 4 major changes or trends of Chinese leadership politics. The first is what I call one party, 2 coalitions, or one party, 2 factions, borrowing Deng Xiaoping's famous line, one country, 2 systems. Second is talk about the new generation and the new identities. Thirdly, talk about what I believe the major trend for the upcoming generation is the strong factions, weak leaders. And finally, what I call the political pluralism and the possible policy deadlock. Now, before discussing these 4 changes, I would like to start with a joke. In the middle of a trans-Pacific flight, and pilot announces to the passengers that he had good news and bad news. The good news, the pilot said, is that we are running ahead of schedule. The bad news is we are lost. Now, this is a good metaphor, in my view, to describe present-day China. The country has had the fastest growing economy in the world for 2 decades. It most likely will be the first major economy that recovers from the current global financial crisis. But it seems to be lost concerning the political direction in which it is headed. China's political system has become increasingly inadequate for dealing with the complicated, sometimes contradictory needs of the Chinese economy and society. Political tensions in the country, which are caused by multiple factors, are all on the rise. These factors include economic disparities, unemployment pressure, social injustice, environmental degradation, resource scarcity, ethnic conflict, and China's painful search for its new place in an ever-changing world. Now, as many speakers have insightfully analyzed early today, it is fair to say that the Chinese political system does not find a sound, safe, and sustainable way to handle any of these major challenges. Coincidentally, the generation of leaders that has just emerged is mainly composed of the members of the so-called lost generation. These individuals were born in the 1950s, and they lost the opportunity for formal schooling due to the Cultural Revolution. Many of them were sent from cities to the countryside to to work as farmers, but some of these fifth-generation leaders made remarkable comebacks by entering college when the higher education system reopened after 1979 or 78. These experiences enabled them to put their professional and political careers back on track. Now, in their later 40s or early to middle 50s, they are on their way to the pinnacle of power. They will lead China in the next 10 to 15 years. We may ask, will this unique lost generation of leaders who made drastic comebacks in their own lives also find a bright future for the country? What changes may occur under the leadership of this new generation? Now let me elaborate these 4 changes. But before doing so, I also want to talk about continuities, and not just give you the wrong idea that everything changed, that something still remains the same. Although my emphasis will be on change. Now here are the continuities. There's no sign of a multi-party system in the near future. Second, there's no checks and balances among the 3 branches of the government, like the Middle-Western political system. And the party continue to have a strict control over the army, personnel, media, legal, and the judicial systems. This is what the Chinese call 党管军队、人事、媒体和法律. So again, the party claims it has its authority to control all these major areas. Now let's look at the changes. There are several important phenomena, and I think it's a very echo what I call one party, 2 coalitions. One is there are 2 coalitions. I will explain them just in a few minutes. They represent 2 different social, political, and geographical regions, not just fighting for power, but also represent different social, economic classes and different regions. These 2 coalitions are almost equally powerful. That's very, very important. Factional politics existed in the Chinese system for a long time, but this is the first time we face a very different picture, which is called, I believe this is 2 factions or coalitions are almost equally powerful. And certainly they have different policy initiatives and priorities. Again, not just for power, but also they have the different policy preferences. And so, fourthly, they are complementary to each other in terms of leadership skills and expertise. Therefore, they need each other. And finally, they compete with each other on certain issues, but are willing to cooperate on others. The bottom line is they are in the same boat. Now, let me elaborate on these 5 points very quickly. The populist coalition currently led by President Hu Jintao and Premier Wen Jiabao. And it consists of the most important, the core group is called Tuanpai. Tuanpai is referred to those leaders advance their career from the leadership of Chinese Communist Youth League, the Hu Jintao's power base. The Tuanpai, that word already become part of the English word, just like Guanxi or some other words, because the importance of this political network, Tuanpai. Second is party functionalists, including the new left intellectuals. I just saw Wang Shaoguang in Melbourne just yesterday. We both present some papers. He is certainly a leader of these new left intellectuals. And the rural leaders, especially those leaders from China's inland region. In the United States, we call them from China's red states, borrowing American political slang. Now, the other is the elitist coalition. They include princelings, children of high-ranking officials, the so-called Shanghai Mafia, although the importance declined, but they're still quite active, only 1% purged, Cheng Li is former party boss. And thirdly, entrepreneurs, really capitalists, and the so-called returnees or sea turtles, those foreign educated Chinese nationals return to China, many of us are in this group. And also urban leaders, especially that from China's coastal region, of course, China's blue states.